What's up, guys? We just made it to the Rock Cobbler. We're getting our campsite set up. We just finished up a little shakedown ride. We should have definitely filmed a little bit of that, but this is Chris's camping setup with Chris's Cervelo. I'm just doing support and filming, so I just brought the chisel today. And then Thomas has the tremor set up over here with the GFC on top. And he already tucked it back in there, but he brought his crux with him. He also brought the pivot less, but we're getting ready to hang out with the festivities tonight and then a little bit of racing tomorrow morning. Cooking up a little dinner for tonight. Getting the camp looking pretty good. We have some ambiance lighting. We got two GFCs, GFC on the Tundra and a GFC on Thomas's new F250. Thomas just got this. Chris has had his for a little while. Thomas opted for the topper here.
Camper.
And we have, sorry, the camper. I keep mixing that up. He opted for the camper on top. Chris just has what's called the topper. No camper up top. But Thomas opted for the pro lighting all the way around. He has storage for his bikes in here. And then he can sleep up here in the camping section. We have our mod mount set up here in the Freedom Coast rails, and we 3D printed this little bracket here for some Baja Designs rock lights. And it's been super sweet to get lighting in here whenever you're camping. Thomas, give us the 1 month review on this camper.
Oh man, first time camp without the wife and kids. I'm pretty stoked to sleep in that thing by myself tonight. Massive, bed up there is massive. It's been good for camping so far. Running the little propane heater to keep it warm. It doesn't feel like it's too cold out tonight though, but yeah, I'll just be sleeping with my bikes in there tonight, as Carter showed you on the little rundown of the camper. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Chris is grilling up a storm over here. Hey, give us a walk down of the camper you've got going on. The camp setup.
I'm not sure what a walk down is, but I'll give you a walk through. So this is my little setup. So I had a rooftop tent before, and this was part of the annex room. I basically pulled one wall off of it. So I only have the topper tent here. So I'm gonna sleep like this. I have it's a 5-foot bed, so I gotta stick out with the tailgate open. So that's what I'm doing. I got a little mattress, sleeping bag, a blanket, pillows back there. I found this little short camping table, which is pretty cool. And then I have my little Mr. Buddy heater on there. One thing I really am excited about is I have this, I don't know if you can see in there, but this Thule bike bag that hangs up on our mod mounts, and it's like the perfect little like clothing organizer before a race.
You're gonna have your bike on this side over here.
Yeah, the bike will be here, and that table will be moved. And then I built this little table that's also on mod mounts, and it folds down, but right now it's up. So this is a kind of a little cool new addition.
Sweet, and then we have lighting provided by some Baja Designs rock lights, wired into, what, an EcoFlow? Something like that?
I have a little Blue Eddy over here, and all the lights are wired in. I have an LED strip around the top. I have this little portable light hanging right there. And then I have, maybe we'll take a different video in the daytime when you can see these things, but they're on little swivels. And this is really cool. We have these little push button Bajas, and they kind of light up the outside like that.
Sweet, get a little campsite lighting as well. Thomas has the same thing over on the other side, so parking the two trucks next to each other actually really helps out with the campsite. Sweet, well, we'll check in the morning because this is his first night camping in that setup, so we'll see how warm everything stays and how he does in there. And then I've just got the good old-fashioned tent on the floor, so we'll see who has the coziest night. Race day morning. Chris is getting some breakfast cooked up. Chris and Thomas are racing the Pebbler, which runs at 8:30. All the guys racing the Cobbler are going out now. That is a much longer race. The Pebbler's 46 miles. The Cobbler is, I believe, 70 something, and then they have another one that is 90. And there it is.
Oh, it's look good. Somebody parked in the little emergency exit over here, so we got woken up a little early, and then they had the music cranking at 6, but I don't think we were sleeping much past 6 anyway. So.
Chris, how was the makeshift camper tent?
It was money.
Yeah? Worked out?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Awesome.
40 last night, and I slept no shirt in a sleeping bag, and super comfortable. So a little condensation, but something I just gotta start figuring out how to deal with.
How we feeling race day morning? We're getting ready to go.
I feel good. I feel better than I thought I would for camping.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I need to go visit the VIP room over there really quick, and that'll be good to go.
This is Thomas's race rig. It's the Crux DSW that we built on the channel. You can absolutely watch that series. We'll go through the entire build.
Yeah, new tires finally.
He switched out to some Schwalbe G1 RX Pros because we were expecting a little bit of mud and a little bit of sand here, which we did get. Maybe a little less mud, a little more sand, but it's gonna be a pretty sweet day. SRAM XX cranks, GX axis transmission,
Tool bag loaded.
reverb dropper.
All my tools, and then 5 servings of goo instead of ripping off all those little packages and dealing with all the trash. You can just load 5 goos into there, bulk load, and just kind of take a sip at a time as you need it. So stoked on that.
And then you're running 2 bottles still and the Usui, or just the Usui?
I'm running a Usui, and then I'll have 2 empty bottles on there just in case Usui runs out and there's a feed station and I want to grab a little extra fluid, but I think I'll probably be fine with the 3 bottle amount that fits into a.
So he's got a Usui here with his mix in it.
It's a Race 2.0, it's just their super light version. I got 1 bar back there. Tools here, goo here. Yeah. Wow.
Sweet, he's all ready to go. It is almost 8 o'clock. Race start for them is 8:30, so they're all getting the final jitters out, getting ready to go right before sending them off on their way.
Say jitters or shitters?
The VIP room over there really quick, and that'll be good to go.
Chris is getting ready to go as well. He is going to be riding on the Cervelo Aspero 5. Chris, what's your hydration setup? Just 2 bottles?
2 bottles, 1 big bottle, 1 regular, and then I'm wearing this fanny pack
With a third.
with a third.
Awesome.
And then I have, in here I have little pouches of, whatever you call it, hydration mix.
Perfect.
So I can fill back up. I figure it'll probably take 5 bottles. That's my plan. 4 to 5.
Awesome. Chris is on the Cervelo Aspero. We still haven't done a build breakdown on this, but it is a really pretty bike. Got our brake adapters on it. We did oil slick titanium. Here we are. Race start.
Yeah, it's somewhat near the front and ready to go. How you feeling, Chris?
Alright, kind of feel like I have to take another dump.
There they go. Massive group. Now I have 4 hours to kill. While those guys are out racing, I'm trying to catch them on the route to snag some photos. Just had an epic fail. Missed them by a long shot. I'm like 8 miles into to not racing. So we'll find them somewhere, we'll grab some sweet photos, and we'll make sure to be back to catch them across the finish line.
So riding on the road,
Yeah,
we're both enduro mountain bikers.
I think I made some people angry on the road.
Yeah, and so I also think that people are trying to be cool road riders and aren't necessarily. So my my experience in this race on the road is we were in a small group of what varied from like 6 to 10 people. And besides that one guy being an absolute monster and pulling us for a while, when we tried to kind of make a little train and trade off with people, and it didn't go well. And we had a pretty good mix of people, right? We had one or two super strong guys. There's one or two girls in there. There was like a mountain biker or two mixed in. And it just kind of got to the point where me and you were like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah, I felt like I was spinning up my legs till I get to the front and then slowing them down to fade back. And I really just wanted to hold a cadence. So I pulled to the side and I said, hey, I don't want to get in your guys' way. I had already pulled for like 10 minutes on the road at one point of that. And some people caught up to me. And so I felt at that point that I just needed to hold a cadence. I knew there was a big climb coming. So I just kind of got out of the way. I didn't want to make people mad on the road.
I think you chose.
I don't know what I'm doing on the road.
Yeah.
So.
I think you chose the I'm just gonna get out of this group route.
Yeah.
And I chose like the passive aggressive route because there was people that would just not pull.
Yes.
So I would just sit behind them.
Yeah.
And be like, if you're not gonna pull, I'm not gonna pull.
Yeah.
But to me, it was just kind of, I was just kind of messing around.
Yeah, I think I need to spend more time road riding and understand the whole,
Yeah, I mean,
working up to the front.
Well, when we ride, when we do work rides here, we'll trade off, and there's not really an issue. Like we're all about the same speed and skill level, and so it kind of works.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get in a group with people that you don't know who are different skill levels, and it did not work. Like it was not efficient at all.
Yeah, I will say that we pulled a really fast time through the road, and I think we cut a lot of time off our race, like being with a bunch of fit people, even though we didn't all use each other to the best advantage, like with aerodynamics. I do think that like being in that group with some fast people got us through that road section in the first 20 miles a lot quicker than maybe if it was just me and you on a solo ride, we would have gone slower.
Yeah, I definitely felt fresh coming off the road.
Yeah, it was good.
Not really sure where they're at right now. I believe they're riding over on those mountains over there. I'm gonna try and get atop of here and see if I can get a cool vantage point on them coming down. This is a really beautiful area. Tons of green, tons of moisture last night. It's been raining a little bit this week, so the dirt's really, really good. Wish I would have found them a little bit sooner in their route, but it's only 9:45, so they've been going for about just over an hour. But this is steeper than it looks on camera, that's for sure.
All right, so picking up the race here, this is about 10 miles in after a little bit of moto track stuff and then some road riding. And this is our real first taste of the Bakersfield fire roads or double tracks or whatever you want to call them. Me and Thomas were together during this part, and we found this nice little group. This guy, two bikes in front of us right here, he actually has a prosthetic foot.
And he was hammering.
And he was a machine. And literally just towed us through the whole road. Like, I feel kind of bad. Like, we took a couple turns and he just went right back to the front and motored. Yeah,
he really set the pace for the group here and got us to like really to mile 20 in pretty good shape. But this is a little bit before then, and we're just kind of pushing up this road, just making steady passes this entire time.
Yeah, right before this was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. It was like this little road, twisty road hill bomb where you're doing like 35, 40. It was really, really fun. No cars on the road, so it just, I wish there was more of that.
Did you like, I kept thinking in the back of my head, like, oh, this could be like an open road, and there were people going around me to the left and right, and I'm like, I think people think this is like a full-on closed road, but I don't know if that's the case. So I kept it kind of safe on the inside, and
yeah, there was someone like 100 feet in front of us that cut across, and I was like, well, he's got to go down before I go down, so I started cutting across.
Before then.
Yeah, but this was a really cool part because we started catching some of the cobbler racers. We were doing the pebbler. So it was kind of a cool thing where you have a mix of really good riders, and then
some people pacing themselves.
Yeah, some middle of the pack cobblers, which was really cool. A lot of friendly people. It made it a really fun race.
Now, one of the things I really enjoyed about like these portions of the race, were you checking out bikes a lot?
That's pretty much all I was doing. And I was like, I think I caught people off guard because I would ride up next to them and be like asking them questions about their bike, and they just would look at me like, what am I doing asking questions like that right now?
Yeah, I saw more mountain bikes than I thought I would, and man, the gravel bike just feels significantly faster. There were some really fit dudes on mountain bikes that I was able to get around that, yeah, it just seems faster on a gravel bike.
I agree. I mean, there was one or two spots where I wish I had a mountain bike, and there was a downhill where a guy went flying past me on a stump jumper, but I mean, I dusted him as soon as the hill was over. So it's like, you know, what are you gonna do? And yeah, you're right. There was like I don't know what the guy was, 55 or 60 years old, and just looked like an absolute unit, and held with us for a while, and then it eventually just couldn't keep up, and he was on like a full XC race bike. So
yeah, I will say, like, if you only have an XC bike and you don't have a gravel bike, the pebble distance of this race it's awesome. Like, you could go do it on a mountain bike. It's under 50 miles. It's still worth it to go do this race. Like, just because you don't have a gravel bike, I wouldn't say to hold out on this race.
No, I agree. You could set up a hardtail or you know, an XC bike to go pretty fast. Just, you know, change tires maybe, and you'd be fine. It'd probably be way more comfortable, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw a couple Epic 8 World Cups with drop bars, 2.1 inch tires that kind of looked like a good balance point between those, between the gravel bike and the mountain bike, which would have been fun, but I haven't ridden one of those yet, so can't comment too much.
Yeah, so we were both on the same tire. We were on the Schwably G1
RX?
RX.
Yeah, it's a new tire from them. It said it was for like pretty, you know, rough conditions and muddy and wet, and we thought it was going to be a little bit muddier and a little bit wetter. I'm really glad we ended up with this tire, mainly because the single track, where I thought it would be more like bench cut and flat, the single track was very slanted and kind of had crumbly dirt. And so having the side bite of this tire, which you can kind of see on Chris's GoPro here, it was really helpful. I think it saved me from having a lot of sketchy moments. I was on a Specialized S-Works Pathfinder prior, and I think I would have felt my rear end slipping off some of those cow trails during the ride. What did you think of the tire?
I was really happy with it. Before this, I was on the Maxxis, what's that one called?
The Reaver. Yeah.
Before this, I was on the Maxxis Reaver, which I think is a really fast tire for like light, dry dirt. And this tire felt absolutely no slower and had way more traction.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I ride behind you on the Reaver, there's like a large contact patch, and I think that's good in dry conditions to keep really good traction. This tire didn't have a huge contact patch for how like knobby and soft the rubber was, and once you got it past like 12 miles an hour, it kind of felt like it sat up on that middle tread and spun really efficiently.
Yeah, you can almost see it in the video how that middle tread just becomes like one solid line when you start going faster. And like, I don't think I'm gonna go back to my old tire. Like, this is I wish I could fit a 50 mil tire in this bike.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a bumpy race like this would probably give you some relief.
Yeah, the first half of this race was surprisingly smooth. Like, this stuff was really smooth. The second half was really rough.
Yeah. So there was a lot of people on 50 mil tires.
Yes.
That was one thing I noticed. So, but I'm happy with this tire. I like the 45 size.
Yeah, and so back to this, we're kind of climbing here, and we're starting to. This is the big climb. I think it was a 1,700 foot climb, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was like 3 miles and something like that. And I thought it would be a lot worse, but it was this nice gradual climb, and it didn't really get super steep until the very end.
Yeah, I was nervous before this race because people said a lot of punchy climbs, but I think that we're used to that being where we're from. Like, some of the training I did for this ride was I went out to our local trails and I'd do 20 or 30 miles and I'd try to climb like 3,000 or 4,000 feet. So I think I trained a lot steeper than what this course
had. We definitely have steeper riding around here.
Yes, and then we had the right gearing. I was 42, 52, and there were times that I would have used another gear. So I think we made a lot of passes here just because look at my cadence compared to the other, you know, the guy on the far left right now. I'm almost like 2-to-1 what his pedal ratio is.
Yeah.
And I think it allowed me to kind of spin up these hills and not burn up my quads. Or
Yeah, I
my
felt
calves.
really good with my gearing. I have a 44 tooth in the front, and then the transmission cassette, so 52 tooth in the rear. And I only went into that 52 tooth right at the very end of this climb where it punched up and got steep. But I was able to use those top gears to vary my cadence, which was really helpful for me.
And you can kind of see my my U-Sweep pack here. Is that something you're going to buy for the next race? I had done one 50-mile race before. I wish I had it. I was really stoked to have it this time. Is that
Yeah.
something you think you're going to add to your...
Well, okay, so this is my first race over 25 miles, and I learned a lot. And I didn't really think I needed something like that. I didn't really want to spend the money on it. And so I just used like a mountain bike fanny pack, and seeing the video, it looks terrible. And not only looks, but like every time I wanted something, I had to like stop and spin it around and grab something out of it. So yeah, and then just like fumbling with 3 bottles. It was,
Yeah.
I was like, one bottle was water, one bottle was mix, and then the third bottle on my back was like a reserve. And it was just like, there's a lot of times when, and maybe this is just me being new to gravel bikes, but it was hard to drink out of a bottle when it was really bumpy.
And I think I said that to you before, and I sounded kind of silly. And I said, yeah, even though it's 4 hours and 50 miles, like it's really hard to find a time to drink. And I think, that kind of rang true in this ride.
Yeah, so this is us heading up the big climb. There's a rest stop right at the top of this. And this is where I felt great on this climb. When we got to this rest station, I was like, I can ride like this all day long.
And I think we were at 20 miles, 2,000 feet of climbing at the top of this hill.
Yeah, and I just felt fantastic. And then everything started to go south right after that.
Okay.
And so basically, you left the rest stop about 30 seconds ahead of me. And I was just cruising, doing totally fine. It's a really fun downhill right after this.
Yeah, that part.
I wish we had footage of that, but we don't. And then after that, it got kind of single tracky and flat and twisty, and I started having cramping issues.
Yeah, which is so brutal. You go to stand up, your quads lock up.
Yeah, and so I literally had to get off the bike and like lay on the ground and stretch my quads. And I probably did that 10 times. And it was really super frustrating for me because I felt great. I was just locking up. And we looked at our ride times afterwards, and I had 45 minutes of stop time.
Yeah, and I was at 5 minutes of stop time.
Yeah.
I kind of learned that in my first big race was like, I'm trained for about 4 hours on the bike. And if these rides take between 4 and 5, that whatever time over 4 hours is pretty brutal for me.
Yeah. I obviously need to do more training at this distance. I'm not blaming it on nutrition or anything like that, but I did screw up my nutrition.
Yeah, like you finish the race and you're like, I feel great. And I think it's because you ate your food. And so your carb replenishment started to hit at the end of the race from where you ate it because you had to digest it.
Yeah.
Where I drank my carbs and I
Yeah.
felt better throughout the race.
So we looked after the race at my mix, and Thomas was like, hey, how many carbs are in your mix? And I was like, there's 1 carb in
Yes.
this thing.
And I'm the spreadsheet guy. So I have a spreadsheet of like, I'm doing this amount of riding, this amount of time. And I have like, okay, do every 45 minutes, get through that bottle within 45 minutes, next bottle in 45 minutes. And I have it all broken down. And then after the ride, I wrote how I felt about my carbs. What did I pee a lot during the ride? Did I have too much sodium? And I kind of keep track on that. And so the spreadsheet, it helped me here.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned a lot in the last couple months of.
And anyone who knows us knows that I'm the complete opposite, and I would never make a spreadsheet for anything, much less a mountain bike race.
Yeah, Chris is off of intuition for sure.
But I also died in this race and totally cramped up. So, no, but I talked to my wife. I'm like, hey, this hydration mix has no carbs in it. And she's like, oh, you grabbed the wrong one. I bought you a whole thing of carb mix.
Okay.
And so it's totally my fault. But this is the stuff that I'm super interested in learning. Like, I'm not a gravel rider. We're both mountain bikers going into gravel stuff. And like, I just don't spend 4 hours on the bike. So I need to
mainly all seated.
Yeah.
Like,
So I was a little bummed. You'll see at the end of the race where, you know, Thomas has already changed and relaxing, and when I cruise up because I was stopped for so long. And so I was a little bit bummed with my performance in this race, but I'm also like super motivated to go out and go do another one.
The progression from like event to event though, it's not like racing downhill or enduro where you're like, oh, that 3 minutes, how can I improve on that? It's like 4 hours, how can I improve on that?
Yeah, and it's
you have a lot of
totally,
thought,
yeah.
like, and time to think about it, and there's so many, you know, you get stuck in the wrong group. We debated about the start a lot, and you were like, I'm just gonna cruise, and then I'm like, well, I don't really know what the course is like. Like, what if it goes into single track and you're stuck behind people and you're not at your pace and
Yeah.
it turns into a bad ride?
Well, I think we both kind of decided we wanted to be in the top third to start.
Yes.
And
How many people do you think went off in front of us? That main group?
20?
Yeah, 20. So I finished 26 in our group out of like, I don't know, I think there were like 250, 270 people in the race.
Yeah.
I think I ended around that same spot that we started in.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's really hard to tell, but from the start, there was a clear group of like 8 guys that were like it was clear they were gonna hammer.
Yes.
And they were gonna try and win
Yes.
this.
And most of those guys beat me by 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, but when we started and it was like mostly road at the start and there was this kind of group, and it was like, you know, at one point that group kind of broke away, and then I was just kind of like cruising, trying to find a decent person to follow, and one guy tried to bridge the gap, and I think I asked him, I'm like, hey, are you trying to chase these guys? And he says yes, and I basically said, okay, have a good race. And I was really happy with the way I started the race. I was really happy with the position we were in all the way up until that 18-mile mark at the first rest stop. Even after that, for like 4 miles, the downhill and some of the stuff, and then all of a sudden it just went bad for me. But man, this is a really, really cool race.
Yeah.
I was blown away by how awesome the trails were, how it was such a good place to camp.
I have a new respect for Bakersfield.
Yeah,
like I
totally.
normally just drive by there and, you know, maybe get gas. There's some cool riding, and we came up by some like cool stuff in these hills. There's some hills that look like this later in the race, right after the hike-a-bike. That was cool. Like I wanted to be on my mountain bike there. It's like,
Oh yeah, there's
teams riding up on the walls.
there was a slot canyon that was really cool in here. There was
Some guys on enduro bikes kind of cheering us on, and then I think they were going to go do their lap next. A big road.
there
gap.
was like a trail with a road gap and some jumps and stuff, and it just looked like really well maintained and some really cool trails. So yeah, super good experience for me. I'm fired up to go do more. So I'm gonna definitely start changing my training to be for this like 40 to 50 mile distance.
Yeah.
And then who knows? I don't think I'm gonna do any 70-mile
Yeah, that's the
stuff
one.
this year. I feel like that's something you train for like months. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't want to. We just don't have the time to train like that. Like, you know, we're a pretty new startup. We're still packing orders. We're still doing a lot of stuff in our work day to where we don't have a ton of time to ride. 40's like a 4-hour effort is what I can train for. I can't train for a 6 or 7 hour effort.
Well, I wasn't really planned for this long of a ride, but it is absolutely beautiful out here. Now I've made a mistake. I've climbed the wrong hill. I'm standing on the hill overlooking basically the finish stretch. They come down here, down that path, they'll come under that road over there, and then they finish over at the, not this close lake, but the lake a little bit farther away, about 3 miles. If I wait here to get photos of them coming down here, I will miss them at the finish. They will be there far before me. Not exactly sure if I'll find them mid-race. The GPS sharing tracking we had with them is starting to cut out a little bit, so I can't exactly tell where they're at. And by the time I finally make it up that hill, they might not even be there anymore. So we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm gonna have to ride down this, which actually looks pretty fun if I didn't have like 30 pounds of camera gear on my back. But I'll ride down that and then we'll figure it out. Well, after a failed 15-mile ride to find them, turns out I rode right past the course. I was just a few hours ahead. But according to the clock, Thomas and Chris should both be coming through here in about 30 minutes. And this does it no justice. This hill is brutally steep. I mean, this is basically just a hike-a-bike section. So I have an extra half hour on them or so. I'm gonna try and hike a good ways up there. I'll throw a long lens on and we'll see if we can snap some really cool photos of them coming by. I already know the boys are gonna be pissed when they see this. This is mile 40. You climb from down there, bike on your shoulder, up this entire ridge. I'm out of breath just walking it, and I haven't even ridden 40 miles yet. All right, I'm at the top of this climb. This is insane. He has cars all the way down there. That little speck in the middle, that's Chris's Tundra. They gotta hike from down there all the way up here. And that is mile 40 at the bottom of the hill. 40 miles in, and then this Stairmaster from hell. There he is. Thomas is right there. A little more hiking left to go. I cannot stress how massive this hill is. Oh. There he is.
Woo. Good job. Almost there. Good job.
Just 40 miles deep.
Should have done some calf training.
Yeah, this is gnarly.
Woo.
I believe Chris is a little ways behind you.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he started to fall back.
Mile 20, so.
Yeah.
Sweet. I'll see you back at the end.
I'll see you back over there. All right. Enjoy. I might miss your exit if I wait for Chris. Chris is just getting his first look at this hill. He's down there at the bottom now. All the way down there. So he's got quite a hike to get up here. There's Chris down there. Almost to the top. Just a little bit more. We'll catch up with him in a second. There he is. How you feeling?
Cramping. This is mile 30.
Oh gosh.
I'm in a bad spot.
You're almost at the end. This is 6 miles, 3 miles down, and then another 3 miles of flat right to the end.
Let me get on my bike. My quad's like about every 2 miles I have to sit down like this.
Oh.
And I just lean back like this and stretch the quad.
Do you have any more nutrition with you?
Yeah.
Could help out.
I've been pounding everything. I think I just got in a hole with cramping. I think out of it.
Thomas is getting all packed up. He beat me back because I waited for Chris at the top. But we're gonna go run over to the finish line because Chris is gonna be coming through in about 5 minutes. But how was that?
Oh man, it was brutal. I think I was like 3 hours, 50 minutes or so of just sufferfest. We started off really fast. I'll recap it more with Chris when he gets here because we did the first 20 miles in the first I think there was like a 1,300 foot climb, and then we kind of split off from there. But man, that was fun. I hated it during it and can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, they were going pretty fast. I had a hard time finding them because every time I thought I was going to intersect, they had already passed. That was my fault for trying to catch them while riding my own bike. I should have hopped in a car much earlier. But we're going to go find Chris.
Fast track today because
there he is. Here comes Chris. There he is.
2 in a row. Taking home the big money on the big distance. Thanks for
right behind
us. That is an outstanding finish. Mike Hale, Chris Dishaw rolling in right now.
Chris just wrapped up. Let's go check in. Light work, right?
I don't know if you saw, but right behind Pete Stena.
Yeah. You were basically right behind Pete
10
Stena.
seconds behind.
Yeah,
so
10 seconds behind.
I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah, he's not even that fast.
Don't talk so loud.
I noticed that around the lake here, I had to come to almost a complete stop. Yesterday we were like, oh, it's a little rough right here.
Yeah.
I came to a complete stop. I'm like 1 mile an hour to that. That last thing was just like torture too. The grass. I thought we were gonna come out of the parking lot, go through that corral, and just cruise to the finish. And they're like, no, here's some bouldery grass with almost a hike-a-bike to the finish line. And I had like 8 guys behind me. And I'm like, I'm not giving up a spot. I know this isn't a race, but I'm not giving up a spot.
All right, we just got all packed up. We're getting ready to grab some lunch and then we'll head out. This is our setup. We got 3 bikes in the back of the F250. There's 1 hover and 2 fork mounts in there with all our stuff on the side. And then Chris is splitting off. He's going somewhere else on the way home, so he's got all his stuff with him. Gravel bike in the fork mount like usual. And that's a wrap on the 2025 Rock Cobbler.
Let's go get some food.
Oh my god.